The latest report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reminds us that we cannot afford to waste another moment debating the merits of doing something vis-à-vis doing nothing.
Made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know.
We are stepping forward through initiatives like the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative and the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa.
And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail.
Donald Trump just called climate change the greatest con job ever. Right at the UN General Assembly, he dismissed carbon footprints as a hoax invented by evil people, mocked wind turbines and demanded a fossil fuel renaissance. And here's the irony. Just days before, Kenya's President William Ruto stood at the same chambers urging climate justice and even hosted a high-level side event on Haiti's security mission led by Kenya. Ruto pleaded for stronger global solidarity, while Trump, in true Trump fashion, ignored him completely.
Yes, it's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a collision of worldviews exposing how far apart leaders are on the future of the planet. Trump's speech at the 80th UN General Assembly stretched to 56 minutes, almost 4 times the official limit. His central argument, climate change is a scam. He mocked decades of science, cited outdated predictions about sinking islands, and called renewable energy a job killer. According to Trump, Europe's industries are collapsing because of the green agenda. He went further, quote, "We have more liquid gold than anyone, and if you don't get away from this green scam, your country will fail." He dismissed the Paris Agreement, ridiculed windmills, and suggested climate scientists were either stupid or corrupt.
Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
In sharp contrast, Kenya's President William Ruto has built his presidency on climate advocacy. A botanist by training, Ruto often reminds the world that Africa contributes the least to global emissions but suffers the worst consequences. This wasn't the first time Ruto raised the alarm at the UN. In September 2022, during his inaugural UN General Assembly speech, he warned of droughts threatening 20 million lives in the Horn of Africa and blasted a global economy that operates like a 2-lane highway. Rich nations speeding ahead while poor countries lag behind. In September 2024, he returned with calls for UN reforms, stressing that climate responses must be rooted in fairness while positioning Africa's clean energy potential as a global resource. And now, in September 2025, at the High-Level Solutions Dialogue on Climate Finance, he slammed a broken global system that expects Africa to shoulder 60% of its climate costs domestically, despite its negligible emissions. He pushed for innovative financing to turn climate crises into opportunities.
Because much of this burden is being placed on countries that have contributed the least to the climate crisis. We must not ignore the risks of overtaxing small, vulnerable economies already battling with high costs of living and climate shocks. For many of our citizens, the social contract does not allow this to be the ultimate solution. The good news, however, is that this is not our only option. Our greatest opportunity lies in growing and diversifying our economies through climate-positive growth, turning the very solutions to climate change into engines of development.
Outside the UN General Assembly, Ruto has used COP summits and African ministerial meetings to rally Africa behind renewable energy, adaptation and reforestation, notably with Kenya's 15 billion tree initiative. But Ruto's climate leadership has come at a domestic cost. The 2024 finance bill, which introduced eco-taxes like a 2.5% vehicle levy and VAT on essentials, was partly designed to fund climate programs and debt obligations. The backlash was fierce. Youth-led protests under Reject Finance Bill 2024 stormed Parliament, clashed with police and left nearly 40 people dead. The bill was withdrawn, but critics accused Ruto of using climate to burden ordinary citizens with elites' misused funds, something that Trump bashed him.
Tomorrow, we are protesting against increased taxation. And we are not activists. We are not activists, by the way.
Upon fact-checking, in 2024, solar and wind accounted for 20% of China's electricity generation, according to the IEA. However, last year, China remained the world's largest coal consumer, accounting for a record 58% of global coal use.
And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but they barely use them? You know what they use? Coal. They use gas. They use almost anything, but they don't like wind. But they sure as hell like selling the windmills.
Ruto's global activism at the 80th UN General Assembly wasn't just about climate. On September 22, 2025, Kenya hosted a high-level side event on the Haiti Multinational Security Support Mission. Ruto outlined lessons learned since Kenyan police were deployed in June 2024 to help restore order against gang violence, and he urged the world to step up with funding and logistics to sustain the mission. This was the third time in a week that Ruto highlighted Haiti, linking its instability to the need for international solidarity.
I must commend the United States. They did make available logistics, vehicles, but unfortunately most of the vehicles were second-hand vehicles, and therefore they broke down a lot many times. And in fact, it put our personnel in great danger when they broke down in very dangerous places.
Yet when Trump spoke, he made no mention of Haiti or Africa. His speech sidelined both issues entirely, focusing instead on fossil fuels and America First rhetoric. That omission says it all. Ruto frames climate change as an existential threat and Haiti as a test of global responsibility. Trump frames climate as a hoax and Haiti as irrelevant. Ruto pushes for cooperation, Trump champions confrontation. What do you think? Has President Trump dealt a blow to Kenya's President William Ruto, the #1 African climate activist? Drop your comments. Newsroom, Maisha TV, Ushabi Jr.